How does that sound? Does that sound good? Awesome, excellent. So when you think about your LinkedIn activities or your LinkedIn actions, can I get a quick show of hands about who feels a little bit like this AI generated person here? That it's kind of like you're trying to do everything and you're kind of getting overwhelmed, right? So who feels that they need to probably be doing more content on LinkedIn? Yeah, pretty much every hand coming up. Well, I want to tell you today that you probably don't need to be doing more content unless you're someone in this room that's currently doing no content on LinkedIn. You probably need to be doing a little bit more then. And I'm going to give you a framework today to make that easy. But you probably don't need to be doing more content. In fact, you probably just need to be doing more with your content. And as Luke mentioned in the introduction there, this is the importance of thinking strategically about how we use marketing in our business. Okay, so I want you guys to be thinking strategically and not just creating content for the sake of creating content. And because some LinkedIn guru got up here and said, you need to be doing content on LinkedIn. That's the wrong way to think about it. What you need to be thinking about is how can I be using LinkedIn as a platform to build my authority, my reach, and my impact with the people who I want to connect with and do business with. Because ultimately that's what it's all about, right? And LinkedIn is a very powerful tool for doing that, whether you're in B2B or B2C. Okay, but ultimately, LinkedIn is a content platform like every social media platform, you know, it thrives on content. And if you're creating content that's of value to your audience, then you're going to be winning. So that's what we're going to kind of focus on today. The reason why we're talking about video specifically here today is I strongly believe that video is like, think of it like a pillar form of content. It's like the content type that allows you to fuel everything else. So if you were to create one long form video podcast, it's an absolute goldmine of content for your audience. But if you were to do just that and just post that once a month, say, sounds fairly easy, then you're kind of doing something. But the smart marketers, the strategic marketers, are thinking about how you can use that to fuel a month's worth of content or even more. So the framework I'm going to share with you tonight is about how one long form video piece of content, which could be a long form video podcast or any long form piece of video content that you might be able to create, can do all of this for your content calendar. So you can take notes or you can scan the QR code because it'll all be there in the slides and you can take it away as well. So a little bit about me. Luke gave me a great introduction there, it was great, but a little bit of blowing my own trumpet, I guess. But basically I've been doing this stuff for over 25 years in video production. The world of video production's changed a lot in that time. But really it's over the last 8 years that I've been focused on a strategy first approach and helping businesses really understand what strategy means when it comes to video content. And that's led to me being in a fortunate position to now coach hundreds of video strategists over the years on how to be better video strategists for their clients as well. And then led to writing a book and all of that sort of stuff. So if you do want a copy of the book tonight, I've got about 15 copies left. So maybe we'll sell out, maybe not. A couple of people pre-bought the book as well, so make sure you get your copy. Don't leave without that. So what we're going to cover in tonight's workshop, I've kind of teased it a little bit, but why long-form video-first content should be your core focus in LinkedIn in 2025. I'm going to give you an easy 3-step framework because I like kind of memorable frameworks that you can take away and allow you to guide this process moving forward. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you can create what's catchily called a content machine with that piece of video podcast content, which will easily fuel over 20 pieces of content in, I would say, once you've got this up to speed, around about an hour or less per month. Okay, it shouldn't take a lot of your time. And we are going to talk about some simple ways to leverage AI to help you to do this in an authentic way, effectively and authentically. And I'm going to try at the end, depending on how much time we've got, to do a bit of a live demonstration on some hot spotted internet here to see if I can show you how we can do this and how quickly it'll work. And I say gulp there because every time I try and do a live demonstration in these workshops, the technical stuff just doesn't work. I don't know what it is about that. Anyway, and I also want to have some Q&A time at the end. So if you do have any questions about podcasting or stuff that I'm not specifically talking about here tonight, depending on how Luke says we're going for time at the end, we might have some time for questions. Otherwise, I'm going to hang around as well so we can do some one-on-one Q&A. Okay, so why video first? Why long form video specifically? Well, the fact is that LinkedIn as a platform, it does favor dwell time. So the longer that a user stays on the platform and engages with content on that platform, the more that the LinkedIn algorithm is going to show more of that content that they engaged with to more people. Okay, so the way to get the mystical algorithm on LinkedIn to show more people your content is to create content that more people want to engage with longer. Okay, it just makes sense. So if you create content that people scroll past and ignore, then LinkedIn's going to not show more of your content to people, right? So your goal is to create content that is of value to people, that they want to engage with, and they want to engage with for a good period of time, dwell time, right? Also, B2B audiences crave depth, particularly B2B. 70% of decision makers say they prefer to learn about a company via content over ads. And think about your own buyer behavior as well. When you're deciding on a company to support you or a company to work with, chances are you're not just responding to some sort of direct response ad like, a Facebook ad that kind of sends you to a website to add to cart and buy a thing. That's not typical B2B buyer behavior. So because consumers are taking their time to make decisions, you need to recognize that when you're thinking about how to use content to reach them. So long form content allows you to teach, not pitch. Long form feeds short form video. Now this is kind of the superpower of the stuff that we're going to talk about here tonight, is that a single 10 to 20 minute or even longer recording can generate a week's worth of LinkedIn native assets. Like I said, fill that content calendar. And video is more shareable. LinkedIn posts get shared 20 times more than other types of content on LinkedIn. So, there's one more stat there. AI makes it fast, okay? This strategy that I'm sharing here today, I've been talking about for the last 7 or 8 years around using video content to feed into other forms of content, but it used to be a very manual process. It's not anymore, okay? It can be done really quickly and really easily, where you can repurpose your content into a bunch of different types of content. Okay, so a framework that I'm going to share with you today, like I said, I like memorable frameworks. We call this one the POD framework, podcasting, right? So POD, and yes, it's an acronym, stands for plan, output, and distribute. Okay, to keep it simple. So we need to start strategically, we need to start with a plan. We don't just jump straight to the output and just start creating content. We need to start by planning out your structure. So what is the structure that your long form piece of video content is going to take? I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that there's one answer to that, because the answer to that depends on you and the way you like to create content, or you like to engage in conversation, or the way you like to share your expertise. Okay? Well, I'm going to share a few examples of this, that maybe one of these is going to jump out at you more than others, but there's no one correct answer there. But you plan your structure and you plan your topics. I'm going to share with you a little bit about how to do that. And potentially, you plan your guests, okay? If it's going to be a guest type podcast piece of content. So we get the plan, we're going to talk through all these, and then we talk about the output. And this is producing your main core piece of content, that pillar piece of content, that long form video. Obviously that's a critical thing because that feeds into the distribution part. And when you distribute, this is about leveraging what I call your AI content engine. This is about how you can streamline in less than an hour, like I said, you can create over a month's worth of content. So let's talk about step one, plan. Really big letters on the screen because I didn't want to gloss over this. Before you go into planning anything, I want you to be really clear who you're creating this content for. One of the biggest mistakes I see business owners make is they create content ultimately for themselves, to blow up their own chest, to pump up their own business, to say what they want to say to people that they think should hear it. Does that sound familiar? A few nods around the room. But you need to flip that. You need to change that. You need to be thinking about ultimately really understanding who your audience is. Who is going to buy from you? Who's your ideal customer? We haven't got time in tonight's workshop to go deeper into that because there's a whole other workshop we could do around identifying and developing your, clarity on your customer or your audience. But you need to be understanding who you're creating the content for. And it's not you. Okay, you're creating content for the people who need to receive your content because it makes their life better, and then they will do business with you. So that's the big caveat here. Think about your audience first. But then let's go into the plan. So when you're thinking about the plan or the structure of your long form content, like I said, there's no one correct answer here. But it could be a standard video podcast, like you might see Joe Rogan or Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. So some of these, big podcasts. I'm not saying that that's what you need to create. That's obviously the kind of the pinnacle of this form of content, maybe if you like those guys or not. So a video podcast is that standard kind of format where it's a recorded conversation, usually between a host and a guest. Think about, is that the kind of content that you think you could do? Okay, I'm going to share with you some ways that you can do that. But that might not suit everyone, okay? That might not suit you as a way of creating this long form valuable content. Another really good option to think about is getting on other people's podcasts or guesting on other people's podcasts. But critically, when you do this, depending on what that other podcast does, is record your side of the conversation. So, typically you might, if you're guesting on another person's podcast, they might say, can you join me on a Zoom call, and we'll do it through Zoom, or they might use another platform like the one I'll talk about tonight. But either way, you need to make sure you're pressing record on your end or requesting the recording of your end. You don't need the host side of things to do what I'm going to say here today. But if you're a guest on someone else's podcast, you're probably going to be spending 20 minutes or half an hour or more sharing your expertise, okay? You can capture that, feed it into the rest of this system, and you've kind of got that long form value piece of content without doing your own podcast. How's that? How great's that? Shortcut.
If they're willing to give it to you, is that always the case though?
Usually. Yes. If you can absolutely ask or request that they give it to you. If not, record it on your own end, okay? Depending on the platform you're using, if you can't record or they don't allow you to record, then open up a screen recorder on your own side and record it through another piece of software. There's no reason why you can't record yourself. I don't see any issues with that. I don't know if anyone's got any legal issues around that, then let me know, but it's you, right? You're not recording them.
Ben said it was okay.
I said it was okay, yeah, absolutely. Or another quick little tip here is if you like the idea of guesting on other people's podcasts, but you find it hard to guest on other people's podcasts, here's a little trick. Pretend that you're guesting on someone else's podcast. Open up your Zoom app or your webcam recording app, have a few pre-prepared questions, get your daughter or son to ask them off camera, and then pretend you're on a podcast, put your earphones on or something, and answer it as if you're speaking to Diary of a CEO, okay? And record that, obviously, because it really doesn't matter. In fact, the long form piece of content is kind of probably the least valuable piece of content that you're going to create from this strategy. Okay, so that's two possible ways and a sneaky third way. The other ones is if you're doing webinars or masterclasses, even live in-person events like this, if you record it, you can use this same process to take that long form piece of content. So if you're doing a webinar, like a recorded webinar, then record that. Be on camera, record that. Virtual panel discussions or roundtables. So if this sounds like your kind of thing where you'd prefer to have a professional conversation with other people in your industry, like on a Zoom call or a Teams call, record that. That can be your long form piece of content. Ask Me Anything, AMA sessions is another great way to do it. This is where you might do a live stream if that's not scary for you, or you can just ask your audience or your email list or your client list and say, what are the biggest questions you have about whatever it is that I do for you? Gather those questions, open up your webcam app or your smartphone and just record your answers to those questions as a long form piece of content. So you can see here it's not just video podcasting, although these all could be podcast kind of structured pieces of content. You could do a topic deep dive or a tutorial. You could do a screen recording kind of a thing of showing someone how to use it. Better if you can have your face on camera as well. Product demos or walkthroughs or client success interviews. So the client success interviews, I want to pause on that for a second because it's particularly for say coaches or consultants or people who work with clients towards a successful outcome, rather than just capturing a short testimonial at some point or trying to ask for a Google review, and those things are all good. But if you can invite them onto a recorded conversation or a recorded interview via a Zoom or something like that, or the platform I'm going to share shortly, then that becomes the fuel for your content engine. So when you look down that list of long-form content structure, if you've come in here today and you're like, I'm not sure that video podcasting is for me, are any of these other long-form pieces of content something that you think could be achievable? I'm seeing some nods around the room. Anyone like, nah, still can't even do that? Hopefully not. Okay. The trick here, and the key thing is that you need to aim for high-value content. The goal here is this is not a 60-second piece of fluff. There needs to be some real value for your audience in whatever this long-form piece of video content is. And the other key thing is it needs to be a video piece of content. Okay, it's not audio, it's not just audio, although there is audio components to it. You need to have the video part because otherwise you're missing out on probably half of the next steps if you don't have the video part recorded. Okay, so still in the plan phase, now we're talking about how to come up with some topics or potential guests if you're going with the guest angle. Let's talk about some topics first. So thinking strategically about finding topics, again, it's not just you sitting down and being like, oh, what should I make a video about? Or what should I record a podcast about? Instead, it's better to come from your customers. So ask your clients or ask your customers, what are the things that they care about? What do they need to know more about? What were they struggling with before they came to see you or before they reached out to get help with their problem, right? Ask them, respond to that, because if your clients or your customers are saying that, then your potential clients or your future customers probably thinking the same things and are interested in the same things. Research common questions or you probably hear common questions, the same things over and over again. Common objections as well. What are the things that come up that people are objecting to doing business with you? Can you create content around that? Maybe it's trending or newsworthy stuff, depending on your industry or your area of expertise. Can you create content that comments on things that are trending or in the news? You could create a content series where it's there's some sort of cohesive structure to it, that each episode is kind of builds on the last, right? Or is around the same kind of topic. Or do a bit of competitor analysis. Look at what other people are creating content about and take their ideas but put your own spin on it. Okay, don't just take their ideas and do exactly what they do. But take their ideas, be inspired by it, and put your own spin on it and create more of that type of content. And the last one I'll add in here is it is actually really powerful to use AI models to brainstorm ideas. You need to feed them the right input, of course. You need to, really explain who your business is, who your target audience is, and then the AI will actually come back to you with probably some good ideas that you can bring into your topic planning. Awesome? Cool. The next thing is finding guests, if you're going down the guests avenue here. So first of all, I really value the idea of bringing experts into your podcast if you are going in that guesting angle. The power of this is you get a bit of their social capital rubbing off on you, okay? The other thing is I was mentioning to Caleb, close, before tonight's event, is the value in reaching out cold to someone who you think would be a valuable conversation for you to have when you've got a podcast is very different. So if you reach out to someone in your industry, some expert, some thought leader, someone who you're like, I would really like to build a professional relationship with this person, it would value my business or add value to my business. If you reach out to them and say, hey, can I, jump on a call with you, maybe buy you a coffee, pick your brain, ask you a few questions, they're likely going to say, no, too busy, sorry, mate, no, not interested. But if you reach out and say, hey, I've got a podcast, I'd love to have you on as a guest. It would be, real honor to, share your expertise with my audience of XYZ. They're much more likely to say, yeah, absolutely, where can I book it in? Okay, so look for experts and use your podcast as a way of building relationships with those experts. And in fact, the value of that probably isn't even in the content, it's just in that relationship that you've opened, those doors that you've opened with that person, right? So experts are a really great place to start. The other thing is clients. If you think experts are a bit scary, a bit hard, but you still want to get guests on your podcast, then think about your clients. Bring your clients on. You can ask them obviously about their business or what they do so that they can share a bit of their expertise. Makes them feel good that they're, someone's interested in having a conversation with them. But then you can have your questions lead into the ways that you helped them. And so it's kind of like a bit of a client testimonial within your content as well, which obviously adds value to you and your business. Staff as well. So if you have a business type podcast and you have a team, then you don't need to bring other people in as guests. You can just have a professional conversation with you and your colleague or your other team member who does something else in your business. Or you can co-host with each other where you ask questions of each other. It can still be a valuable conversation. Referral partners as well. So if you're in a type of business where you have referral partners or other people who refer business to you, bring them on as guests in your podcast and have a professional conversation. It can be a really powerful way to further that relationship with those referral partners, but still create content that adds value to your audience. Also, and I know this from experience, authors, speakers, other podcasters, those kind of people are always open to getting on other people's shows and having other conversations. So do your research, particularly if someone's just published a book. Man, they are ripe for reaching out. Even people who you're like, no way they're going to get on my little dinky little podcast. But if they've just published a book, you reach out, you flatter them a bit, and you say, love the book, it's great, here's a photo of me with your book. It's all got all dog-eared kind of corners. I'd love to have you on my podcast. They'll be like, sure. How many listeners do you have? Oh, like 10. They'll be like, who cares? Right? Yeah, absolutely. So look for those opportunities within your industry to kind of make those connections that you think possibly would never have happened. But without having that podcast in the first place, it wouldn't be possible. So I think the key thing here as we move on to the next stage here is whatever format or structure your long form video piece of creation take, whether it be a podcast or otherwise, the goal here is to come up with something that makes it easy for you to record valuable long form content. And the reason why I'm so bullish on podcasts right now for any business is it's one of the easiest ways to create long form valuable content because it usually takes the form of a conversation. So who here feels that they could comfortably have a fairly lengthy, valuable conversation about the thing that they're passionate about that drives their business? Yeah? Conversely, who here thinks that they could record a video, like stick a camera in front of them and record a video in that same way? Well, some people, yeah, good. Yeah, but for most people that I speak to, the thing about having just a conversation is it takes away that pressure. So let's move on to step 2, output, creating that long form piece of content. Obviously, there are multiple tools that you can do this with. There are multiple ways that you can do this with. You could just open up your smartphone and just start recording video content. And I'm going to share with you some specific ways that I recommend people consider doing this. The first tool I want to share with you today, and now we're getting into some tactical stuff, is really an upgrade to doing this sort of remote guesting via a Zoom call or a Teams call. In fact, Teams, just never use Teams for this sort of thing. Zoom, passable, but no. I recommend that you look at a platform called Riverside. Riverside.fm is the URL. Riverside is basically like a recorded Zoom call on steroids. There are some other platforms that do similar things, for example, through a tool called Descript, for example. And there are some other tools that do the same sort of thing. But I recommend Riverside, so I won't complicate things. Let's talk about Riverside. So very much like a Zoom call, it's using webcams on both sides or whatever quality camera is connected to the computer on either side. You can use the Riverside app to record as well, so then it's using your phone camera, which is maybe higher quality than your webcam. But the critical thing about Riverside is that it's recording a high resolution video file locally on both sides. Okay, so one of the biggest problems with remote recording conversations for this sort of purpose is that it's dependent on the internet speed, the bandwidth, right? I'm sure we've all been on video calls where it's like, what did you say? Okay, that's obviously going to impact the quality of the recording that you get if you're doing this via remote or you're having guests on. So the benefit of Riverside is that it's actually recording on both sides And then at the end, or basically during the recording, it's uploading the high quality file on both sides. And at the end of the recording, you get in your Riverside app, you get the combined recording, like basically the whole meeting recording, and then you get a high resolution quality video of both the guest and you, and a high quality audio file of both as well. So you basically end up with the materials you need to do all sorts of things. But Riverside goes further than that, as all of these tools tend to do, is they're building in more and more AI as well. So once the recording's done, it'll automatically transcribe. And the reason why I continue to recommend Riverside is the transcription is nearly perfect, better than a lot of other platforms that do this. So automatically transcribed, which is critical to some of the next steps. They also have a fairly easy visual editor. So as opposed to some other tools like Descript or taking those video files and trying to figure out how to edit them, which most people are like, oh, I can't do that, so that's going to be too hard. Well, within Riverside itself, you can basically do all sorts of stuff. Like you can click a button, click apply, and it removes pauses. It just cuts out kind of any gaps there if you want to cut out. So you can see in this recording for the screenshot, I could cut out 139 pauses with the click of one button. You can remove filler words, so ums and ahs and things like that. Who worries about that sort of thing? It's like, there's going to be so many ums and ahs. You can choose whether to do this or not. Personally, I don't mind leaving some ums and ahs in your recordings, but you can click that and you can see what it comes up with. You can click one button and it'll find the fluffy parts. Find fluff, how easy is that? So if you're thinking, gosh, that was a bit of a waffly conversation, you can click that and it'll highlight within the transcript some parts that's like, this is probably a bit fluffy. Do you just want to cut that? You'll be like, that's a bit rude. So yeah, one click, all within Riverside. Enhance the audio. Just click a button and it removes all the background noise and all the kind of air conditioning noise and things like, makes it sound like you recorded in a studio. You can click the smart mute button and it'll basically mute the person who's not talking. So, if their dog was barking when you were asking a question, then it just kind of mutes them in the background. And you can, with this editor component as well, you can click one button, it'll automatically kind of choose how it lays out the video. So it'll be like, is it going to be side by side for a bit? Will it cut to a full screen shot when just one person's talking? And it just does that click of a button. Easy as that. Job done. The magic audio. Oh, the next one, AI show notes. So, it takes the transcript. I said that, automatically does that. It's not on the screen here, but one click, it'll create a summary, like a show notes. Basically, a couple of sentence description of what the content was about and some dot points of here were the key takeaways from this episode. Just kind of in a show notes format, right? Which you can obviously use as is, or you can tweak, make it better. One click, AI show notes. There's also the option to create short form clips or shorter reels type clips directly within Riverside. They call it magic clips, although it doesn't do as good a job as the next tool I'm going to share with you. So you can do it all within Riverside, but I do suggest that you consider using this next tool as well. But Riverside really is my go-to for getting long form content ready to publish, particularly long form content that I'm needing to kind of create over the internet with someone else. Yeah.
Would you use that as well if you were just recording direct to camera yourself?
Really good question. Yeah, I would. Yeah. Okay, because although you can just record it direct to camera, just in you're on the card in your camera, for example, or to record it to your computer, and then take that file and put it into other tools to do this sort of stuff. By doing it within Riverside, you're still getting exactly the same quality, 100% as you would otherwise, and then it's automatically doing this stuff straight away. So yes, solo shows. Solo you can do through Riverside as well, or guests, or even screen share. So I didn't mention that before. If you're wanting to record your screen during whatever it is that you're demoing, it'll record that in high quality and have that as a separate track as well at the end. So yeah, you get everything that you need all within Riverside. The other option, a little bit of a shameless plug here, but the other option is you can go more a professional kind of a podcast space. A bit more like Diary of a CEO or something like that. But basically, that's something that we do offer at Innovate Media in our studio down in Baringa. There's more information there on that page, and there is a little discount here for you guys if you're interested in just turning up somewhere, getting the content recorded with a guest or solo, and then we either give you the files so you can do the rest yourself, saves you some money, or we can do everything for you. So there are those options as well. Before I move on, I know that there are probably going to be questions about, well, you can also do that through this app, and you know, how about this app? Yes, there are other tools that do a similar sort of thing as Riverside. However, I recommend Riverside, but yes, there are other tools. So if you're already using other tools that do that, then that's awesome. Like Descript, I mentioned Descript. I know someone's going to mention Descript. Yes, it does similar sorts of things. Okay, distribute, before I get onto that complicated slide. So once we've got that long form piece of content, whether it be recorded professionally or whether it's a webinar you recorded, like I said, or something like that, or it's that podcast that you've recorded through Riverside. Now you've got that piece of content. Your next goal is to distribute that. And I want to share with you about a strategic framework that I recommend you consider when you're distributing your content. It looks overwhelming, but the fact is that it doesn't fit on the screen. That's the fact. Anyway, I'm going to talk you through it for the bits you can't see. So basically, your long form piece of content, that YouTube thing at the top, that's typically for a video, long form piece of video content, typically YouTube is where you're going to host that. Okay, so you're going to upload that to YouTube. That's your main piece of content. You can share that. The benefit of YouTube is it's like a library that's there for the long term. YouTube's owned by Google. It's the second largest search engine. You will get evergreen value, so like returning value to that long form piece of content on YouTube. But like I said before, that's kind of like just the pillar piece of content, because if you just did that, you just uploaded it to YouTube, then you're missing out on all the rest of this. I do want to mention, because I added this in because this is a LinkedIn workshop here, that if your long form piece of content is under 10 minutes, then you can upload it, the long form piece of content, to LinkedIn as a LinkedIn native video as well. But at the moment, LinkedIn's still restricted to under 10 minutes. But a 10-minute piece of content is still long form piece of content. There's still a lot in that. So if you keep it under 10 minutes and you really want to optimize LinkedIn, then you can absolutely post it as a native LinkedIn video. If it's longer than that, it's going to go on YouTube, and then where LinkedIn comes into it is in these shorter pieces of content. So from that long form piece of content, you're going to have the transcript, you're going to have the video files, you're going to have a lot that you can do. So from there, you're going to aim to extract some of the key insights and takeaways from that long form piece of content. This is what needs to be a valuable piece of content, not fluff or filler. And then from there, so the numbers here are, this is one piece of content. So from there, you can easily create 45 to 90 second shorts. And here we've got 5. Of course you could do more than that, but I was aiming for that 20 plus pieces of content. That's kind of what I promised you, right? So we've got one piece of content here, and we've got 5 pieces of content here, which are your shorts or your reels, which out of a 10 plus minute piece of content, you should easily be able to extract 5 shorts, 5 reels from that, unless it was just useless content in the first place. So 5 pieces of content from there, and then from there, you're going to create 3 unique posts for each of those pieces of content. So each of those 5 shorts, you create 3, like you create an Instagram post, you can create a Facebook post, you can create a LinkedIn post. They're probably the main platforms you might consider use. You could use TikTok, could be a TikTok post instead of that. But in this case, you're now going to have 15 unique touch points on 3 different channels, all within a couple of minutes, right? And then from there, because you've got a transcript, a high value transcript, you're then going to create an article, which you can post on your blog section of your website. I'm going to show you how to do this. You can create an article for LinkedIn. LinkedIn loves their articles and the newsletters side of things as well. So you can create an email if you've got an email list as well. So your email can have its own value. And then other content as well, which we're not going to go a lot into today, but you can create quote images using Canva, for example, in seconds. Create carousels. Lots of, particularly LinkedIn loves their kind of PDF carousels, you scroll through. So additional valuable content there, that's about 3 to 6. So let's do the maths here, 5, 6, 15, 12. That's 20 plus pieces of content, right? Now, it seems overwhelming, but with the next bits that I'm going to show you and the little demo that I'm hopefully going to do for you if the technology works, is you'll see how quick and easy this is to do once you've got that long form piece of content. And I also said you'd get 20 plus pieces of content in less than 2 hours. Well, this says per week, but that's if you're doing a long form piece of content per week. If you're doing this just per month, like one of these long form per month, then it's less than 2 hours per month. Okay, so let's say it takes you 15 to 60 minutes with a bit of planning to actually record the piece of content. A couple of clicks in Riverside to get it edited, done. Less than 15 minutes with the platform I'm going to show you in a second to create 5 of these reels. It really is less than 15 minutes to create 5 of them, unless you're a real stickler for making everything perfect, but don't get bogged down in perfection. Less than 5 minutes to have AI help you write some of these posts, and 30 minutes or so to kind of do these other bits and pieces. So what's that? Less than 2 hours per week. Can you spend longer on it? Yes, of course you can. But I wanted to make it catchy for you. So in reality, you can do this, particularly when you're up to speed with it, in easily less than 2 hours. Or have someone else do it, even better. Have someone on your team do it. Okay, so I said to you I'd share with you a better tool than Riverside for creating these short pieces. So the tool I want to share with you today is called Opus Clip. Anyone familiar with Opus Clip or used Opus? Few people, good. So you probably know that's a pretty cool tool, works really well, it's improving all the time. So Opus Clip is basically an AI video clipping tool which will allow you to take one long video, that pillar piece of content that we talked about. It says 10 viral clips here, but we're going for 5 because we're going easier, and 10 times faster, okay? Now obviously that's a catchy title here, but Opus, you can create hundreds of viral clips or short clips from one long form piece. So here's a bit of an example of what it looks like. I'm going to show you a demonstration shortly too. There's a little code here as well. This is an affiliate code. If you do want 30% off your first month, you can try it for free, by the way, but if you want to upgrade to a paid version of Opus Clip to get a bit more of the tool, then you can save 30% on your first month with that code. So what it does is you get long form content, shortens it down to short content between 30 seconds and 3 minutes. In minutes, it selects 8 to 20 clips automatically. It adds captions, like these sorts of captions. And it gives you a viral score as well. So you see here the green number. So automatically the AI will give it what it calls a viral score. And this is where it's using its AI to kind of think, well, how engaging is this content, this topic, or this structure of this little short? How engaging is it as a potential viral piece of content? Now, don't get bogged down on the idea of viral, because your content's probably not going to go viral necessarily. People love the idea of, oh, I'm going to go viral. It's not about that. And I'm not saying you need to go viral. You just need to create content that's share-worthy, right? That other people want to watch and then maybe even click the like button or share it with someone else. That's good viral, right? You don't need 1 million views on one piece of content. Although if you do, maybe that's good. Maybe. Although many of us can't serve 1 million customers, right? So we probably don't want to go viral. It also will generate what it calls viral titles, okay? And what that means is it gives you a good starting point. AI is only taking it so far, right? So it's going to give you a good starting point. Probably it's going to do a better job at writing the titles of your shorts than you do in the start. So it's creating content, titles of your videos, which is designed to stop the scroll, right? So people are scrolling quite fast. It's designed to kind of stop the scroll and get people to pay attention. So you can leave it as is or you can change it. And it's simple to edit. So if you don't like what it's suggested here for the video, it's automatically has the transcription here, much like Riverside does. And in the same way as some of these other tools, you can just edit from the text here. So if you're like, I like the section that it chose, but I want to start after that first sentence. So I'm just going to select that first sentence and just press delete, and it just deletes it from the video, and then it starts from the second sentence. So a much easier way to edit when you're just editing in text format. Like we're all comfortable editing Word documents, right? Sound good? Sound powerful? Yeah, it's surprisingly affordable too, and you can get started for free. Now that sounds like a sales pitch. It's not my tool. Okay, so from there, from once you've created your shorts, remember that kind of pillar of that pyramid of content that we created. So now we've got our 5 short pieces of content, which took us a few minutes using Opus to create. Then we're going to turn to our favorite AI tool. In this example, I'm using ChatGPT. Do the same thing through Gemini and Claude. Whatever large language model or AI tool you're most familiar with. What you need to do is you need to take that transcript that you've got and then feed it into a whole bunch of different things. I'm going to give you an example prompt here. I always call ChatGPT Chatty. I don't know, has everyone got a name for their AI tool? You should have. They're going to take over the world one day, so you've got to be nice to them. So anyway, this is an example prompt. This is not the whole prompt. I'm going to read it out for you. So the mistake most people make with using AI to help them generate content is they give it a very simple prompt. They just throw in something like, take this transcript and write me a LinkedIn post. You'll get rubbish. It'll be rubbish. It'll be generic. You'll be like, oh, this is useless. I may as well just write it myself. You give it the right prompt and you'll get gold back. I'm going to demonstrate this as well when we get to the demo. But anyway, hey Chatty, I've recorded a podcast episode on topic featuring guest name or host name. You fill in the blanks. It's a value-packed conversation aimed at engaging my audience on LinkedIn. Then you go, you are a professional B2B copywriter with deep experience in digital marketing and content repurposing. You write in a conversational yet professional tone using proven LinkedIn post formats to maximize engagement and reach. Using the attached transcript, and then I attach the transcript, which comes out of Riverside, please draft a content type. So draft a LinkedIn post, or draft a LinkedIn newsletter, or draft a email for my email list, or whatever, for LinkedIn. Obviously, you can tweak this. If it's not for LinkedIn, you can change that part. This is LinkedIn local. I had to customize this for LinkedIn. And then ensure that the content hooks and resonates quickly with my audience, and describe a little bit about your target audience and the action you want them to take. Avoid overly cliched languages. No M dashes. That's for my LinkedIn peeps out here. We love the M dashes. And minimal emojis. So, does that look like an AI prompt that might give you a better result? I'll tell you it will. But there's a specific framework I'm sharing here, which I want to share with you just as a bit of, this isn't really an AI talk, but if you don't have the right framework to your prompting, then you're going to get rubbish out. I call it the CRAP framework. I said I like memorable acronyms. It is an acronym. So the CRAP framework for prompting AI is based on 4 things: context, role, action, and parameters. So the first part is context. You start your AI prompt for ChatGPT or otherwise with giving it some context about why you're turning up here in the first place. So the first sentence is the context. Next, you need to give the AI a clear role. Okay? You need to explain that you are an expert or you're a professional B2B copywriter with deep experience in digital marketing. It's actually insane how giving the prompt a clear role gives you better results than just leaving that part out entirely. Test it out. You'll see a difference. Next, the action. Obviously, you need to tell it what you want it to do. This is the important part. The P in CRAP is the parameters. If you don't wrap that action in some sort of constraints or parameters, then you're probably going to get a bit of rubbish back, okay? Or things that you don't want. The more you do this, the more you'll realize what you need to put in that parameters part. Like minimal emojis. Like if you've done this sort of thing through ChatGPT, you'll realize it throws in far too many emojis, at least for my liking, right? So you'll know what you need to throw in your parameters section, but give it the parameters so that you get a much better result back the first time. So I'm going to demo that shortly, and we'll go through this whole process and you'll see how easily this is to create. I probably don't have time to go through this, but if you want to really go deeper into this whole process, you can go further into creating specific custom GPTs. I'm going to go through this really quickly, but some of the custom GPTs that I have, which are private to me, is a carousel from Video Creator, a blog from Video Writer, a social copywriter, and Video Nuggets, what I call Video Nuggets. And these are custom GPTs in ChatGPT that have been specifically created with one of those content roles. So it's given it specific to frameworks and instructions So what I actually can do is, rather than writing a prompt every time, I can just call that custom GPT and it kind of has already got the prompt in there. I didn't want to bog you guys down with too much AI stuff, so that's as far as I'm going to leave it. If you want to go deeper into some of that AI stuff, our man over here, I think, can help you, guide you in the direction here. So what was your name again? Bart is our AI automation legend. So you can talk to me afterwards and we can go deeper into it, nerd out on that stuff. But in the interest of time, I want to get to this demonstration. But before I do, we've created this amazing content. We've got all these LinkedIn posts. We've got these great little short videos. We've got our long form video content, and that's it, right? So then you just post the content out to LinkedIn and the money comes rolling in. Yeah? Okay, there's some skepticism in the room because it's not actually how it works, right? When we're being strategic about distributing this content, we need to think about what we do with that afterwards. Now, of course, that can be, we can go really deep into this, but the critical thing I want to share with you here is when you are using this content within your content plan on LinkedIn, is you need to actually use it, right? You can't just post and hope. You need to actually use this content now as a way of engaging with your audience and moving towards taking action with you. So the critical next step after you've kind of filled out your content machine here and you've got all this amazing content from your one long form piece of content is you need to authentically use it to engage and connect with your audience, with your network, with the people who potentially will help grow your business. So a few quick kind of tips here. The first one is when you do post content, you need to make sure that you monitor the engagement of that content and you engage with it as well. So jump in every day. Once you start releasing content like this, you should be active on the platform. Don't post and then ghost. Okay, you need to post and then you need to be looking for engagement. You need to be engaging. And then reply to comments. When people comment on your content, which increasingly they will when you get more active on LinkedIn through this strategy, reply and reply thoughtfully and authentically. Okay, don't just spam the replies with like the same kind of rubbishy reply. Like give it a bit of thought. This is your opportunity where we've been a bit automated and AI through the content creation process. This is your opportunity to be human. Seek opportunities for further connection as well. What I really love to do with people who engage with my LinkedIn content is make sure, if I don't know already, that I click through to their profile and just try and figure out who are they? Is there a potential opportunity for further connection here? Sometimes there's not, and that's okay. I still, reply to their comments and engage professionally. But if there's an opportunity for further connection, I'll be seeking ways to further connect. My kind of rule of thumb is if there's been 3 touch points with someone where someone has engaged with my content in either 3 different pieces of content at 3 different times, or they've liked one piece of content, they commented on another, and maybe they've reposted another. That's kind of like 3 touch points on a piece of content. I don't keep a spreadsheet or anything, but I'm kind of manually looking for those names that keep popping up. And if I'm not already connected or not already have a relationship with that person, then that's my signal to reach out and connect with that person. So if I'm not already connected, 3 touch points would mean I'm actively sending a connection request with some sort of a note. So not just a follow, not just a connect on LinkedIn. I'm actually adding a note. Hopefully you're familiar with what I mean there. And I'm being authentic about that. I'm saying, hey, I noticed that you've commented or you've added that great comment to my video. I'd love to connect, know a bit more about you. Maybe I can help you, maybe you can help me, whatever. And also consider tagging relevant connections in the comments, but do that respectfully. This is really important here. So when you are releasing content on LinkedIn, you can get better engagement when you're tagging people who might be interested in that content. So critical here is relevant people, and I recommend tagging them in the comments rather than in the post itself. Okay, I really dislike the practice that some people have of posting and then tagging 20 people and saying, would love your thoughts on this. And it's you're just trying to get engagement. But if there's relevant people, you're I think that, hey, Chris, this is, what we were talking about the other day at LinkedIn Local, this video might be interesting to you. Tag Chris in the comments, he gets notified, he'll come and watch the video, he'll probably get value from it, and everything will be great from there. Yeah.
I'm sure I will get value.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's critical here, respectfully, right? Remember, I talked about yes, using AI to, speed up this process and make it easier, but also you want to make sure that you're authentic in this process as well. Okay. I don't know how we're going for time. How are we going for time? I didn't clock when I started. We got time for a little demo?
Did you do it in 5 minutes?
Yeah. Well, I told you it would only take a few minutes, didn't I? All right. Yeah. What's 7:20? Okay. Let's do a quick demo. Okay. Actually, got to copy my prompt. Where is my prompt? There it is. Okay, so I'm just copying a pre-written prompt, which is the exact prompt there for the CRAP framework, just so you follow what I'm doing, because I don't want to have to type it in here while you're watching, okay? So I'm going to go to Opus clip. This is a podcast video, a long-form video podcast that we did on our Coast and Commerce podcast, which we produce at Innovate Media in our professional studio. But I've taken the long form video, which I just pasted the YouTube link in. So just to go back, sorry. So this is in Opus clip. Because this was already uploaded to YouTube, this was about a 25, 30 minute conversation, an edited video. I pasted it in here as a YouTube link and just get clips in one click. That's easy. I've already done that. It did take about 9 or 10 minutes to process. So I walked away, come back. I didn't want to do that live for you guys here today. So this is what happened without any other touching of that. So straight away from that long form video, Opus Clip has given me all of these short form suggestions with viral scores there as well. Okay, it's got some little suggestions of how interesting they are. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just pick this one here. I actually don't know if this is a good one or not. But basically, you can see it's given me a scene analysis, given me a title, Sunshine Coast 2030, Public Transport is the Future. This was an episode with Rosanna Natoli, who loves to talk about public transport. So it's automatically, without me doing anything, it's kind of split screened it. It's put me up the top there while I'm asking the question. See Rosanna having a drink of water there. It's added in, because we had a pre-built template here, which we'd already done, it's added in like our brand styling and colours, added in our logo, which once you've done that once, just applies automatically.
I really am confident that by then we will have better public transport.
So I could just take that. I might watch that and be like, that's great. Save, download, way to go. If I wanted to get rid of some of that, like I said, all I need to do is select some of this. That's really hard to do while I'm holding my microphone. So let's just say I'm just randomly going to select some of this. I don't know what that is. I'm just going to click trash. I'm going to remove caption and video. So I'm not just removing the caption here. I'm saying I want to actually cut that piece of video content out too. And that's it. I probably did a really bad edit. It's probably in the middle of a sentence here now. But now the video starts further along. So like I said, it's just like editing a Word document. Easy as that. So I download those things, and then I've got my 5 short form pieces of content. But I wanted to show you what we do with the transcript. So let's go over to ChatGPT. Let's paste in that prompt. Not that. So there's my prompt. I've customized that a little bit with where those kind of placeholders were. You can have a quick look there. It's got a little bit more detail about the thing, but it's the same prompt structure. I'm going to add in my transcript, which is this one here. So that's just straight from Riverside. It's just a text file, TXT file. I'm going to paste that in. So now it's got my transcript from the full episode. It's got the prompt framework that I talked about. And if my live, I've asked it here to create 3 LinkedIn posts about 150 to 250 words each for LinkedIn. Let's see how it does, fingers crossed. So there we go. So there's post number 1. I won't read it to you. You can see it's kind of structured a pretty good LinkedIn post here. Because of that prompt, it's got the call to action that I wanted to. I wanted people to listen or subscribe and to leave some sort of a comment, so for engagement. It's come up with some hashtags. Awesome. So it's got 1, 2, 3. You could just take those, you could post them with the clips, post them with the video, and away you go. So how long did that take? That was less than a minute, right? Cool. All right. So demo somewhat successful, winning, amazing. That's not where we're going. Sorry, jumped right back to the start. That's pretty much where I was at. What I wanted to do is to give you a chance for Q&A, which we'll probably have to do more one-on-one afterwards. Nearly there. So who's feeling a little bit differently about the idea of creating a long-form piece of content for their business? Quick show of hands. Thank you. Sorry for the rushed ending. That's where I wanted to leave you. So scan that. That's the LinkedIn connection request, which you can also get through Luke's link, so don't worry about that. Couple of little bonus resources for you. There's no need to opt in there. You can just go there and you can play with our ChatGPT AI video marketing plan, which is super cool. I encourage you to try that out. And if you are interested in grabbing a copy of my book, like I said, I've only got 15 copies here tonight, or maybe less now, and it's normally $25 if you buy it through the website. Am I handing back to Shari or Luke? Thanks, guys. Hope that was helpful.